Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. So today Market Mamas is going to introduce a very new trader, not a new trader, but another new interview for you all. And this is Philip. Super excited to have you here, Philip. It's just such a small world. I have to just share a little bit about that. Philip and I actually met 10 years ago in our town. And at that time, we were both local bakery business owners. So it's just so crazy that 10 years later, we're actually, futures day traders. So it's super wild and just great to find out that now we're both doing, similar things again. And just thank you so much for being here with us today. We're excited to have you on with us and just learn more about your journey.
That's such a fun coincidence. I love that when you can find people like that you're like, no, you too. It's not that often. It's not that common. So I'm so excited. Okay, so let's learn a little bit about you, Philip. When did you start trading and what got you into it?
Absolutely. I got a funny story regarding that because when I was thinking about that question, I was thinking, man, when did I start? And back in 2003, I was serving with the U.S. Army out in Iraq, and when we were there in country, I heard a couple of soldiers, my buddies, who were talking, and they were saying how the Iraqi currency had devalued because of the war. And so some of the guys would say, "Hey, let's just buy some up, and when the country gets stabilized, we'll make a profit, right? We'll just sell back to U.S. currencies." And so kind of a primitive way of doing forex, I guess. So fortunately, I still had internet access. We had already set up shop and everything. So I actually jumped online and found something regarding how can I buy some currency. So I jumped in there and started, and I found this site. I couldn't even give you the name. It's been such a long time. And I started buying some currencies, just some low level stuff, but I couldn't really manage it because obviously it's a war. So I was doing a lot of movement, couldn't really focus on it. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, man, I don't think I ever shut it down. Maybe it's $1 million now. I don't know. So who knows? But yeah, I wouldn't know where to begin to even, I don't know the name of the site or where to log in, and then nothing. So, I mean, there's that.
How'd it go? What happened to your money? Did you win?
I have no idea.
You don't know. I
was busy fighting a war. So
How was your
return?
Yeah, it wasn't that much though. So I mean, it was just a few $100s and stuff like that, just to kind of just speculation, right? So when I came back in 2005, 2006, I was looking to do some sort of investment of some sort, and I got an ad for it was a forex course, right? So make money, trade forex. Actually, it was between that and there was another one for trading stocks, and there was another out there for equities. And a forex, just because I had done it a little bit, right? So that that's what caught my attention. I'm like, yeah, there's no currency arbitrage. Let's go get it. So I took the course, and I was just that was my first encounter with indicators. I was like, wow, moving averages, Bollinger Bands. And when the instructor is teaching you, right? And, showing you all the historic, look how much money you could have made. And I was just like, wow, that's all the money I could have made. And so it got me all excited. I fell in love with it. I'm like, how did I not know this before? And so I ended up opening up an account at the time. And it didn't take very long for me to get humbled real quick, knowing that you can't make a quick buck that way. So I got humbled real quick, blew up the account. And that was the end of that in 2006, 2007. So that was a hard lesson in something called over leveraging as well. So that's what actually led me to blow up that account just so quick. After that, over the years, I kind of just relied on signal services such as like the Motley Fool. So I was doing some, just very passive trading and purchasing stocks. Then I took a long break from 2011 to 2017. I had my bakery, as Kendra mentioned. That's where we met. We were doing macarons and all that fun stuff. Remember that?
Oh my God! Remember all that?
Yeah. So, I actually went back to school I got my pastry chef certification, cordon bleu, and I said I'm going to do this bakery business, going to go all in, and I really did. I had two shops opened up. I had some large accounts. I had Food for Less, PG&D, and all these other accounts going on. And the thing is, though, the profit for me is there's an old expression says, "Is the juice worth the squeeze?" And I'm just like, I feel like I'm squeezing very hard for very little juice. Profit margins are not that great. I want out.
Owning a bakery is just like owning a job. It's not really. You're just a workhorse.
It's true. It's true. And the thing is, the hours. I mean, you can't when you're the boss, right? It's you don't have a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, whatever the case may be. It's you stop when the word tells you to stop.
Yeah, and everyone's ordering for weekends and holidays and special events, and you're trying to attend special events, and it's
5 to 9,
right? Yeah. I'll tell you what, it was kind of crazy when you see everybody else going out for, hey, winter break. Like, well, I got to stay and make pies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
wow, so great transition into now being a day trader. So it sounds like you have had a history with lots of different instruments and styles, but now it's my understanding that you are predominantly a day trader, futures, correct?
Yes. So kind of how I landed where I'm at now is actually started in 2022. I found myself looking to begin investing again and looking for ways to, hey, where can I put my money? So I actually didn't know what to trade, especially when you're starting off with small capital. So, I mean, I looked at stocks and Forex, but after I saw a presentation from Prosper Trading, and I really liked their style. I really liked what they were doing. And it was in options. I was like, oh, cool. This looks interesting. I've never done options before. Let's give that a shot. So I got a mentor and a signal room with them. And honestly, I have nothing bad to say about them. As a matter of fact, it's kind of having like a trading buddy saying, hey, why did you do that? Right. So it was very educational. It was very, very, very good people, very good information. I got very educated. I learned about risk management, which I wish I had learned way before. I ate up all the classes and I made some great trades. But I found that options were just not for me because the Greeks always got the better of me. So if anybody understands anything about options, there's something called theta, which is time decay. And I was like, why are my trades going so well? And then like I should be making this much and it's only this much. So I ended up making the transition to futures at the end of 2022. It just made more sense to me. Right. And since then, I have traded futures. I've consumed just hours and hours of knowledge since then. And I know my style has been day trading. I've thought about doing swing trading, but honestly, day trading is what has stuck out to me. So, yeah.
Okay. So you've been in trading for a few years now since the bakery. Kind of sounds like you got into the intensity of it and it took hold. So then you have to have answers to this question because everyone goes through the psychological hurdles of figuring out how to sustain it. So for you, what was the most difficult hurdle and challenge to get to some consistency?
So to get consistency, honestly, when you're thinking about consistency, you really got to think about systems and risk management. First of all, if you don't understand the risk you're taking, you got to understand, hey, how many trades do I need to take before I blow my account up? And if you can't understand that, then you shouldn't be in the game to begin with, because you need to be able to understand how to manage your risk. And for me, that's the only reason I've survived this long, because I understood if I have $100,000, and if I risk $1,000, I could take 100 trades before I blow up, right? But then you have people that will go to certain, Reddits and things like that, and they're destroying their accounts within 1 to 2 trades. I'm like, I'm sorry, my friend, that's not the way. Maybe. I mean, I just gotta say for longevity's sake. And then this is not just me saying this. You look up anybody out there, and they'll tell you, hey, who's had longevity in the game, and they say it has to be sustainable, it has to be consistent, and you know that you're not going to be 100% right 100% of the time, right? And risk is risk. This is a game about risk, and there will be losses because sometimes you're wrong. That's just the way it goes. So once you begin to understand that, that's what's going to make you stay longer in the game. So understanding that risk is huge. The second of all, I would say, is understanding your system, right? I think I might be jumping ahead here, maybe of what you're thinking.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So when it comes to systems, you have to have an understanding of what triggers you into a trade. So I had my system, right? And what triggers me into a trade. And I knew that I could do this. Let's say if my portfolio was $100,000 at $1,000 of risk per trade, that means if my system fails me, 100 times, I'm out of the game. And that should give me enough time to reassess and reevaluate: is my system really working or is it not? And first of all, am I staying true to my system? And before I even jump in, if you want to talk about longevity, if you don't have that figured out, the first thing you got to do is get a paper trade. Sorry, I know everybody wants to be excited to make money and things like that, but you got to paper trade, because first of all, you got to be confident in your system. If you don't have confidence in your system, you can't be confident with your risk management, then you shouldn't even be like trading live money to begin with. That's the honest truth.
Wow. I really appreciate you pointing those two things out, because sustainability and a system, or sometimes we call it a process, Becky and I do, I feel like literally those are the two pillars that you have to have. If you can't define your risk and stay true to your risk, then clearly you're going to blow your accounts. If you don't have a tried and true system that you are, constantly, sometimes you do have to refine it. And like you said, make sure it's still working for you, but you have to stick to something. You have to have your defined, edge, how you participate, because we've all experienced, kind of jumping from this to this to this to this. Mm-hmm. Yes. And you have nothing to really stand on. You don't have a strong foundation to build from and to trust. And then you're not going to trust yourself. And, you're not going to be able to trust the market when you do see your signals, when you do see your setup. You're just going to, be, random. And, we can't be random. The market can be random sometimes, but we can't be random. We have to stick to what we know, so we can develop that confidence. So yes, great answers.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, actually, there's a gentleman that I listen to. He's been in the markets 30 plus years. I love these veterans because of the things they say. And he says, if you have a trading system, you got to be faithful to your trading system, right? To understand if it truly works or not. Is it truly working? And I'll tell you that's why we compare it to a business, right? This is a business. Whether you like it or not, you are in a business. And when that business becomes insolvent, guess what? You're out of business. When you run out of capital, you're out of business. You can't do any more business. And so one big thing about a business is you need to have a plan. So if you don't have a business plan, there's another old saying, I have a ton of them. It says, a failure to plan is a plan to fail. So if you don't have a trading plan, I'm sorry, but you're planning to fail to begin with. You're dead right out of the gate. And that's why they say about 90 to 95% of businesses, they fail. Is it such a coincidence that the same statistic applies to traders? Because maybe it is a business. So when you're talking about your system, right, that's part of your business plan. So you got to be faithful to your system. You just got to be. That's part of the discipline part.
Agree. Totally.
It's kind of like you have to honor who you want to be in life and have it, and it crosses over all parameters. Like you're gonna stick with what you say. You're gonna treat it like a business. You're gonna show up for yourself at the prescribed time, and you're gonna execute based on certain things. I mean, that's such maturity with it. I love that, the way that you frame that, and it shows that you've grown over time. You kind of sound quite impressive because you really have figured it out. I feel like these are the things that Kendra and I are still dialing in, that we know we have to trade our edge and our system and our plan. And when we get loose with it, then our P&L gets loose and not always in the right direction. But I'm going to pull you back for a minute, and you got to tell me about did you ever have a really dark period where it was really hard? Because that has taught us so much, where we both have a definite period where we could speak to. Did you ever encounter that where it was really dark and not green for a minute that led to this?
Lowest low is what we call it.
The lowest low, huh?
Lowest low.
I can't think of anybody who's been successful that I've never heard a good comeback story. Right. And every trader that I've listened to who's successful now, they all have a story to tell of, hey, I had my own low, or I blew up my own account. And I've had my own low as well. And I think in that first year of 2022, during my first year of trading, so I mean, I was mentioning how I had worked so hard. I felt like I was trying to learn everything, right? That they were feeding me. These guys have been in the market for years. If I follow their lead, I'm going to be successful. So I put in all this time to learn, and then so when I was having such a tough time being consistent, I I ended up spending hours coding. I learned to code, and I was coding my own indicators, and I coded a system. And in back testing, it did phenomenal, but in execution, it was terrible. And I was spending day after day journaling. I was trying to understand the markets and the different case scenarios. I'm an industrial engineer, and I'm just a logical person. So I work off of if-then statements. And sometimes the market just doesn't make sense, right? It's like, why did I do that? Like, and so I was spending days where it felt like I was just losing, like taking like day after day, I was taking a loss, right? And there was only just moments of fresh air there would be like a day or two, and like, oh man, I killed it today. This is gonna work after all, and then go back to losing.
Yeah.
And then the cycle would sort of just start over, and it seemed like I just couldn't understand the markets, how it operated, and it just didn't seem to respect the logic that I think it needed to have. And that there was a saying that really became very, very true, and very present for me, and that was, the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. So those points were like, it's got to turn now. It's got to turn now. It's got to turn out. And it just keeps going, right? I think that some folks may have felt that way on Friday, right? When it just kept going up, right? Yeah. But I don't fall victim to that anymore, thankfully. But back then, I mean, like that, I was just like any other person out there, any other retail trader, right? Trying to understand, it's got to turn, and you just did, yeah. And then maybe even if you were profitable on the day, all of a sudden that P&L turns red, and you're just like, whoa, what's going on? So yeah, it was very disheartening. And at that moment, that lowest low, I just felt frustrated. I just wanted to throw in the towel. I felt like I would never be able to understand. And it's like, and to me, it was like, how could there be these successful traders out there, and why am I not being successful? And it just, that's how it makes you feel. It's like, why, what am I doing wrong? And so on.
Yeah, those are real feelings, and it is frustrating. It can be extremely frustrating, especially when you feel like you've made great strides, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what's going on? Like, how come I can't get in sync? How come I can't flow anymore? So thanks for sharing that. So having gone through that, and on the other side of that, what habits and routines, have you developed for yourself that has, strengthened you the most and helped you to be neutral and, grounded, and not have those biases, not have that, roller coaster experience as much?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would say too, that something that has helped me stay grounded, I think, since the beginning, because we got to remember that there's not just an investment of money, right, of capital, but there's an investment of mental capital, and it takes a toll on your body, physical capital, right? Because it does impact everything. And if you're staying glued to a chair for like 4 or 5 hours or however long, and if you're not getting up and getting exercise, it affects everything: your physical, your mental, the well-being, and even your spiritual, if you believe in that too. But what kept me grounded and centered, first of all, my wife, she has been very supportive, and she believes in me. And so I would say you need a support system, right? You need somebody to say, whether that's a trading buddy, or somebody out there who just says, yeah, you got this, and help kind of stay in check. and kind of lift you up in that way. I'm also a man of prayer and meditation. I do this every day. So every day when I get up and I get ready, I spend some time in prayer and meditation. So I make sure I am centered before I start my day. And then you got to remember there's life outside of trading, right? If you live to trade, then you may have forgotten to trade to live, right? So you got to remember there's life outside of trading, and so I do have a life outside of that, and I'm very active in my church, in my community. And there's many other things. So to me, it's very important that once I hit the end of my trading time, I do my journal, I close up shop, and I disconnect, right? Because the markets will be there tomorrow. Okay, the markets will be there the next day. Okay, and so knowing that it's okay to disconnect, right?
Yeah.
Is important.
Those are great. That's so powerful, because those are all things that we also find such value in: the prayer, meditation, exercise, shutting it down, and doing other things with the rest of the things in your life that bring you joy, your family, your church, your community. Those are excellent. I love that.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard. We all still experience a little bit of FOMO in our trading. I don't know if you have ever had that. You probably never, but I know that sometimes, as I've been learning to be a trader, it's been something to work through. So how have you managed discipline and FOMO, and sort of that fine line we all have to walk and get through successfully?
Absolutely. I mean, if it's okay with you, there's some other things I want to mention regarding the discipline part, because it's going to lead into the FOMO part.
For sure.
So I did mention about mental well-being, health as well. So exercising is important, and so I do have a routine for my exercise as well. Yeah, and so like hey, you're getting stronger, right? Get stronger mentally, get stronger this,
all
body,
connected.
right? Yeah. There's just something about, right? I believe, Becky, you're talking about you love hiking. We're talking about that earlier. And just getting out there, getting some fresh air, right? And just the perspective in life. It's important. So, your exercise, what you eat matters as well, right? Make sure you drink enough water and stuff like that. I mean, it sounds silly, but these other things are important even while you're trading. It's because trading is very intensive. You got to remember, and requires you to make decisions based on what the data that the market gives you. So in order to make these decisions, my physical and my mental well-being have to be in check. Lastly, before I jump into that FOMO piece, I just got to say, you got to know why you're trading. You got to know why you're trading. So for me personally, it's to consistently generate income, for myself and for my family. And I have a reminder right near my desk, and it's the photo of my wife over here. So I got the photo of my wife, right, when we were dating. And so it has the gold sticker has the date when we got married. and also a reminder of your successes. If you've been successful at anything, have some sort of reminder, something to tell you, hey, you got this. So for me, I keep this nearby, and that's my funded trader certificate. And so when I earned that funded trader status, and I received the certificate, it was my wife who actually sent it off right away and had it framed. And she's like, remember, this is what you achieved, and this is what you're doing. And I'm like, thank you, love. Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's helped me to stay focused.
Wife of the year.
Yeah. Awesome.
You married well.
Yes.
I sure did. No, I got a good one.
Love it.
And so, and finally, just always keep learning is what has also helped me stay focused. Like I said, when I was in that low, I had to say to myself, okay, I need to learn, because somebody is being successful out there. I see what people are doing. How do I get there? I got to learn. So always keep learning. And it's funny because I see even these people that have been 30 plus years in the markets, and they're still learning. So they say, always be a student of the market. So that brings me to your question of how do you stay disciplined and avoid FOMO, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of go back to what we initially talked about, and that is having a business plan, a system, right? If you don't have your system down, if you don't understand, first of all, the way you trade and what works for you, what your trading system is, then you're going to suffer from FOMO anyways. You're going to get emotional. You're going to see something that like, oh, that looks really good. Let's jump into it. It's like, it's going now. I got to jump in there. So the thing is, though, is that respecting your rules. If it's not respecting your rules, you have no business being in there. So being able to use that to keep you in check is critical. That keeps me in check is knowing my trading system, knowing my business plan, and following it faithfully will help me to stay out. So there's three things I'm going to mention here, right? So the thing is, what are your conditions? First of all, let me lead with a question. What are your conditions that tells you to take a trade or to just stay out? Okay. If you can't define that, then you're going to suffer from FOMO every time. It just feels good. Does it respect your rules?
And you're trading emotions and not a plan.
That's right. You're trading emotions and not a plan, right? If that's the case, then let's take our money, go to Vegas or something. So have a good time.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up, Philip, because that's literally what I tell myself. Like, are these conditions, do they favor my game? Like, I know what my game is. I know when I'm feeling, when I'm feeling hurt. Like, I know when these setups speak to me. I know what, because we have our journal and we have our own data to see what our most probable, conditions are. So that is so important to just be able to be honest with yourself and have safeguards in place for, like, there's nothing wrong with learning and practicing when the conditions don't favor your game, but you better do that in Sim, or you better have an account that's specifically for that, that you're not going to risk all your progress. So thank you for bringing that up, because I feel like for me, that has been a huge defining factor of being able to mature and be more consistent, is just defining that for myself and having enough respect to respect that it won't always be my conditions. It won't always be favorable to my game. And I just have to be okay with that and not try to force it.
Yes. And it's really awesome that you're mentioning that too, because it's huge. There is one of the veterans that I follow, and he has like 80 different setups, like 80 different systems, depending on market, but it's taken a collection of years. And that doesn't mean you should have 80. Like, you just need one good setup that's that you can be faithful to, and it's faithful to you, right? That tells you not only where to get in, but also where to get out. That was a huge thing for me too. When I was in my lowest low, sometimes I just didn't know where to get out. Now I have very specific targets, but I also have where I need to be out, where those conditions cease to be true. So as important it is to know and identify the condition which triggers you into a trade, you also got to be able to identify when those conditions stop being true and when you need to get out. And that's where your stop should be, right? Like, if it dips here, my condition is no longer true. I need to be out. And so when you're talking about that, and for me specifically, I look at my targets. I have my specific daily targets that I'm looking at, and I have targets that evolve over the course of a day. So when those targets get met, and I never got triggered into a trade, or I just missed it, or for whatever reason, it doesn't tell me, oh, maybe it's going to go a little higher. No. Like, be faithful to your system. Get out, stay out and get out, right? But
yeah, that's one of the things that I've recently added to my, I have like a list of things I'm actively, working on to improve, is that don't chase a target that's already been achieved. Like, I don't care if you missed it for whatever reason, or you may have got in, but you just didn't nail it. You don't get to chase that. Like, that was already in your trade plan. It's already been achieved. Like, just accept that, better luck next time.
Yeah, it's crazy, because like, I think that's where FOMO really applies, right? Because like, oh my God, it's going there. That's the level I marked out. And you're like chasing after it. And then it dips and then you get knocked out and then, oh, it's going again. Oh my God. Right. And the next thing you know, you're like, you're blown out or whatever. So, chasing is dangerous, and that goes with FOMO, right?
Sure.
And that's why you got to know. For me, I have three specific things that I look for, and that's time. What time is it? I have specific times, and so anybody who is out there trading should also not just track which trades were successful, but look at what time they were successful at. There might be a trend there. There's people that are just killing it and during the early morning New York session, and then lunch comes around and they're destroyed, right? They give back all the profit, or vice versa. So for me, what time is it? What does the price structure look like, and the price location? So those things have to be true for me in order for me to determine if I'm going to get into a trade. So you got to determine what are your conditions for getting in. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you for all of that. That's excellent. I do have a question, because Kendra and I both are members of communities and we chat all day. Trading can be kind of lonely at times. Are you a member of a trading community, or who do you discuss your trading with? Maybe your wife, or how do you find some sort of community around that?
It's funny because I don't think I really chat with anybody. It's more like I listen. I'm a listener. There's a channel, a couple of channels that I listen to, and there's a Discord that I'm also subscribed to as well. And what I do is I listen to see what they're buzzing about and what they're talking, and sometimes I find confluence for my own trade. Sometimes they give insights onto like what they're looking at and what they're trading, or how they're handling something. So it's just helpful to see. Even I love the live ones, because sometimes they're getting blown up or they're struggling, and you're like, oh my God, I hate to say it, but yeah, I'm not the only one, right? and they'll tell you this is awful price action. I'm like, isn't it true, right? I'm just here yelling at my screen. I mean, nobody's listening, but it just kind of confirms that we're all seeing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
This morning is a great example of that. I think I've seen like 5 different YouTube videos just pop out on, because I'm subscribed or whatever, and it says like be careful, and like this morning was a lesson, and the such. And so it's just awesome to see the kind of that helps confirm. But I think for most people, I think that's great to chat. Honestly, like it's healthy, it's good. It gives you, just it strengthens you. And I've been doing that actually ever since I started back in 2022, if you think about it, because I joined that group with that mentor. Super helpful, right? It's very good.
That's awesome. I know. I think, well, and you're kind of been in the game longer than us. So I think, the longer you've been in, maybe the less, input you need from others. And, I know for Becky and I, we like thrive off each other. Like we need that really close connection and that accountability and that like just sharing all the psychology. But that's really great. It sounds like you have your system dialed in, you have your discipline dialed in. You're still, like you said, you're still forever learning and just respecting, the market. So it's been so great having you here with us, Philip. You've just dropped so many like gems and so much wisdom on us. And just thank you so much for being on our show. And we'll definitely welcome you back if you're willing anytime. I feel like we could keep going and going and going.
Oh, I agree. Honestly, it's been truly a pleasure. I just say that if there's anything that I've shared today that helps somebody out there, that's what it's about. It's a very big market out there, and there's opportunity for everybody. And the more we share as a community, the better we are, because I tell you that I'm still learning, I'm still developing, and I'm still receiving input. So always stay humble and always be receptive to feedback, and do the same for me, and I'll do the same for you, and then we'll be stronger traders, and we'll make a good living out of this. So yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate so much for the invite again, Kendra and Becky. Thank you again. It's such a pleasure.
Yes, I was just going to say, you're so humble and like real and honest and open, and I really have enjoyed our conversation. So yeah, thank you so much, and keep killing it. This is great. It's lovely to connect with other traders that are like really progressing up, because there's so much potential out there. So Like, we're worthy. Let's get it.
That's right.
Yes.
Let's go get it.
Awesome.
Let's do it.
Our best trading days are ahead. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today and for watching and supporting Market Mamas. And best of luck to all our traders out there. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.